your broken down second-hand computers that aren't any good for you are going to be good for our staff and volunteers. You know, well, seriously. So I said, so please don't give them to us. Sell them on eBay and give us the cash. I said, what makes you think that sending your financial director around to paint the walls of our offices is any use to us? Please, take the tins of paint, sell them on eBay, and give us the cash. The problem is, you will find that, of course you will, because you know what you'll do, because, you know, we in the voluntary sector, we're not stupid. We will say whatever it is we have to say in order to get the money, even if it's not entirely true. You didn't hear that, Peter, or the other Peter. We will, won't we? And of course you will be sensible and you'll tell businesses what it is they want to hear and all the rest of it. But as long as we continue to collude in that, as long as we say, thank you so much for that broken down chair or that chair that's got a wheel missing, you know, which isn't going to fit the health and safety requirements of your organisations, but is okay for our beneficiaries or our victims of domestic violence, so long as we don't go back and say things like, thank you so much for that generous gift, it's lovely. Unfortunately, it isn't any use to us. Could you please sell it on eBay and give me the cash? Okay? We've got to start getting into more of we've got to be prouder of who we are. We tell each other all the time, we're fabulous. We witter and whinge to each other about how nobody actually understands or appreciates how good we are. But we are really poor at actually standing up for ourselves when it comes to dealing with the local authorities, dealing with funders, and all the rest of it. Now, I do want to say something about local authorities. Did I just see something flashing at me saying, get off? No, okay, just checking. Just checking. I'm going to ignore it anyway. And see, now I've lost my thread. What was I going to say? Local authorities. Oh, yeah. Can I just say something about the public sector and public services? I feel horrendously sorry for public servants. I really do. I think that, I know quite a lot of them, as I'm sure many of you do, and in my experience, most of them are perfectly decent, hard-working human beings who do actually want to make a difference, who see that they're in the job of serving the public, working in a political and media-driven environment over which they have almost no control. And not only that, not just under this government, under Labour, these people have been told for the last 15 years that they're absolutely crap at their jobs. Anybody know married to, divorcing civil servants or public servants? I mean, it's horrendous. The morale is absolutely rock bottom. So let's not go in there thinking they're the enemy. They're really, really not. What we have to understand is they work in a totally different environment, and very often it's not their fault. Very often they are having to do stuff because it's required by some silly statute or some usually local councillor who's got to be in their bonnet about something. Get to know them. Get to know them, find out about those people. Don't be swayed or fooled by job titles, okay? Because behind the job title of the chief executive of the big lottery fund is a really, really decent guy who is trying to raise money for children in need. Do you see what I mean? And it's the same very often in local authorities. And to be honest, guys, it's a bit the same when we become very dismissive and mocking of politicians and MPs. I tell you what, in this media-driven age, it takes a lot of guts to stand for public office, because the minute you have the word councillor or MP or minister or politician after your name, everybody automatically assumes that the person who we quite liked until they got elected has become a greedy, self-aggrandizing, out-for-themselves idiot. Now, in fairness, okay, the odd one or two, but most of them genuinely aren't like that. So let's get off this politicians can't be trusted, because that's just ridiculous. That's like saying all men are bastards. Yeah. Actually, now I come to think of it, politicians can't be trusted. Only joking. But you see the point I'm making? We've got to stop viewing these people by their job titles as if they're evil, because they're not. Nick Hurd and I disagree on almost everything, and he's a really decent man doing what he thinks is right in the way he thinks is right. So we have arguments about it, and you never know, one day he might listen to me. You never know. I live in hope. You get the point I'm making? We are making it harder for ourselves in many ways. The other thing I wanted to say is the fact that also, can you tell me, hands up, any of you who have ever found it really, really easy to raise money for your charity or your cause? There you go. Do you know what? We're used to this. It is difficult, isn't it? It's flipping hard out there, and money's getting chopped left, right, and centre, but it's never been easy to raise money for the voluntary sector, frankly. And we are in fact, if anything, this is exactly the time when we can shine, because we know how to do it. We know how to persuade, how to cajole, how to be creative, how to find a different way to tackle the problem. We know how to do those things. And I'm so disheartened by when I come around, because I spend most of my time out talking with charities, and listening to what they're going through, of how disheartened they are and how much they've lost hope. And I'm like, but you've got all the skills you need still. So what if your funding's been cut by 3/4? If you've still got some money, we keep going. Because do you know what? The thing about the voluntary sector, we are more than the cause. We are more than the bed or the bowl of soup. We do not walk away because the money isn't there. Because actually, we're not there because of the money. We are there because of the cause we serve. And so are our volunteers. Our volunteers don't volunteer for our charities because we've got lots of money. They volunteer for our charities because they care about our causes. I have yet to meet a volunteer who says, I volunteer because I want to support social and economic regeneration. People volunteer because they want to cure cancer or care for babies with brittle bone disease or clean up the local canal or whatever it is. They volunteer because they care about the cause. We must never forget that, and we mustn't get into this language, colluding this language of business languages, creeping into the way we're talking about. I'm told by many of my peers in the sector, particularly kind of in the infrastructure bodies, many of them at nights, I'm saying no more. Anyway, who say to me, Deborah, you're terribly naive, darling. You need to get over it. We need to use words like social return on investment, all the rest of it. And I say, no, we don't, because that's what alienates a public who has been broken and battered by the language of business and the language of investment. We are about love. We are about caring. We are about altruism. We are about giving. We are about never giving up. We are about the cause, and we do not quit, whether there's money there or there isn't money there, and don't ever forget that. Be proud of ourselves. So I think things are going to start flashing any minute, so I'm going to get off now, but I want to end with just one, which some of you may have heard before, but it's my absolutely all-time favourite quote. And this is the reason we're here. This is the reason that we don't give up, in my opinion. And it's a quote from George Bernard Shaw, the preface to Man and Superman. And this is how it goes. This is the true joy in life. This is the true joy in life. The being used for a purpose considered by yourself to be a mighty one, to be a mighty one. The being thoroughly worn out before you are thrown on the scrap heap. The being a force of nature, instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. In fact, I want to be knackered. I want to arrive at the gates of heaven with a bottle of champagne in one hand and a packet of fags in the other saying, let me in. That was Deborah, by the way, not George. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. For the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch that I've got hold of for the moment. And I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. So please, everybody, go burn your torches, hopefully not your bridges, and thank you for listening. Sorry. I forgot something really important. Really important. The previous government, Labour, stole something in the region of £675 million from the lottery to pay for the Olympics, and the share of that belongs to Big is about 425, 450 million, something like that. Now, Peter's not allowed to say anything because he had, whatever, but they nicked it. The Conservatives, leading up to the election, said that they would make the lottery independent and they'd pay the money back, and they haven't yet. So Director of Social Change has launched a campaign called the Big Lottery Refund Campaign, which you can find on Facebook or Twitter. Please sign up to it. I've written to Jeremy Hunt, I've written to David Cameron. They've got the money. They can give it back. And £450-odd million going back to the lottery is an entire year's worth of money that, frankly, would really, really help out a lot of small charities. Now, Peter isn't allowed to say anything about it and, officially doesn't know anything about it, but please sign up to the Big Lottery Refund Campaign. This government promised us it would give us back our money. Let's hold them to our promise. Sorry, darling.